Are you familiar with the story of Ogun, Oshun, and Oya? Ogun was married to Oshun and Oya. This is told as a love story, but is actually describing an alchemical process. Ogun is iron, Oshun is fresh water, and Oya is air. Iron was submerged in water, causing it to rust. Then air came and separated the mixture and brought an end to the marriage. This is actually the process of corrosion and evaporation. These alchemical processes are also directly related to spiritual evolution. How? To find out, register for the next live webinar, Alchemy, on November 11, 2015. Visit SaduluHouse.com/events to RSVP and to see our list of monthly webinars for 2016. 2016 webinar topics include meditation, spiritual cleansing, astral projection, chakras, crystals, water magic, candle magic, the third eye, animal totems, dreams, and sex magic. Don't forget, check us out at SaduluHouse.com/events.
Greetings, peace everyone. I'm Kim, your host of ANU Asafo, and I want to welcome you again to another segment of the show. Thank you for tuning in, taking time out of your busy day to check us out. And I just wanted to say that today I'm going to continue with the other half of the clip from last strong show, where we were speaking about steps in conscious awakening. So just to sum it up, there was someone who emailed in about a friend, and he said that he recently, a friend of his recently came into consciousness, and he had some concerns. So I'm going to play the clip in just a second, and then we'll start to get into the show. Just a reminder, the clip comes from a Foundational Friday show entitled Zombies, Debates, and Transformation. Okay, so I'm going to play the other half of the clip and we'll get started.
Okay, she woke up recently, but their transformation is not happening because they are not able to feel and experience the things that they learn. Transformation does not come as a product of feeling. Now, let's deal with that for a moment, the experience and the feeling. Part of the reason that that's also happening with this individual has to do with a sincere gut check. And that gut check gets them to a place where they can really ask themselves if they truly have faith in and stand on the convictions of what they're learning. I guarantee you they're not, first off. I guarantee you this individual is not making the internal changes that are necessary that go along with the academics that they're learning. Okay, so this information is not having an influence on this individual's, what you call their personal life, because this individual has not opened themselves up to be influenced. They're only allowing themselves to be persuaded. And if they're allowing themselves to be persuaded, it is because they are standing in a position right now where they're saying, okay, convince me. Okay? So when you do that, you don't really get it. It's just like when I sometimes do readings for people, or people come to a lecture and I see them sitting there with their arms folded. You know, sometimes you see them sitting there with their legs crossed and their hands in between their legs covering their genitals. And it's the body language says it all. You know, I'm not going to let you in. And you're going to have to work to convince me. And the thing is, where it becomes a challenge with me is that I could care less. You don't have to be convinced, because if I'm up here teaching or I'm giving you a reading, it's for you. It's not for me. I can give myself a reading behind closed doors. I can teach myself by just meditating, cracking open a book, or calling one of my elders, you know? So this individual has to open themselves up more to where the information will take them, and they can't try to control it. They have too much of a tight grip on experiences, okay? And they can't be looking for a feeling. This is not about feeling. Okay, that's a very churchical way of approaching this consciousness. You know, our church ways and our religious ways And sometimes even the experience of Black Americans, we look for a feeling in an experience. You know, I want to come into information. I want to see everything bright and brand new. And a lot of times we get those thoughts because we hear those testimonies from other people. Oh, I went and got initiated, and then I started seeing all these spirits on. And I can tell you, a lot of times people are lying. Because a lot of times people who are saying and seeing all these different things are not seeing them. It's just that they feel inept now because they feel like they've now initiated into a line of people who have seen things. So if I didn't see it, then what's wrong with me? So now I have to make up my own story, or I have to exaggerate my experiences. And a lot of times, for those of us who really get it and get it good, it's a slow process. You know, easy come, easy go, and those that run fast, they trip. So, you know, sometimes you see people that are quick learners, or they seem to be quick learners, and they're just picking up it. They're having all these amazing experiences, and then next year they're doing something different. They're out of it, they're gone. You know, so, and then some people, they take over a really long time. And there's a lot of frustration, and they just don't get it right away. You see a lot of blank looks and a lot of balled up pieces of paper, and you know, it comes very slow for them. But what happens is, because it comes slow like that, it really influences their life. And they become walking examples of what it is that we're speaking about.
All right, so that was the clip we're going to speak about this strong. And again, it came from a Foundational Friday show entitled Zombies, Debates, and Transformation. So before we get into it, I'm going to go over a few quick announcements. As you heard in the beginning of the show, that was a quick commercial from our next webinar entitled Alchemy, which is on November 11th, and that's on a Wednesday, I believe. This is the third webinar in a series that I've done. The first one was on herbs. The second one was on oils. And now we're doing alchemy. So if you missed the first two, you definitely don't want to miss this one. We're trying to, or we are combining what we learned in the first two webinars in the alchemy webinar. So if you had a chance to make it to either of the first two, this one's going to kind of bring it all home for you. You can register for alchemy at saduluhouse.com/events. And like I said, try to make sure you get that registration in before the 11th instead of on the day, you know, the day of the event. As you heard me say before, many times, you know, ANU Nation and all the trainings and the resources that Chief provides for us are so that we can empower ourselves. You know, he's not trying to create worshipers or followers or, you know, anything of the sort. He really wants to empower you so that you don't need him as much. You've heard him say that like in a few shows. He wants to make sure that you don't need him. And so that you can become the priestess or the babalawo of your own family, you know. So that's what all these webinars, the trainings, the books, all these things are for it. As some of you that are in the training, you know that this is a training that you can take at your own pace, you know. So that's one of the conveniences of it. All of the resources are super helpful if you're truly committed to your spiritual growth. Please check out our websites. We have anunation.org and saduluhouse.com. Saduluhouse.com is where you'll see all of our courses and trainings. And ANU Nation is like the hub website. This is where you can sign up for the newsletter to keep up with what's going on. And you can also sign up for readings if you need to get a reading there, and on all of our sites. There's a tab there if you want to schedule a reading. I know there are still a few people that are trying to figure out how you can get a reading. Well, they're on all of the websites, okay? So anunation.org to sign up for the newsletter so you can keep up with what's going on. saduluhouse.com for all the trainings and the courses that we're going to offer and that we do offer. We also have enlightenment and transformation.com, and this is where you can go to discuss any of the weekly shows. So if you have comments, there's a form there that you can also sign up for, where if you have a question or a comment about any of the shows, you can post it there. And I also encourage you to keep up with our YouTube sites. There is Orisha Yoruba, ANU Nation, Enlightenment and Transformation TV, Sadulu House, and Yuya Assaan-ANU, just to name a few. So, and the reason I'm stressing that is because starting November 1st, which is very soon, all of the shows will be broadcasting from YouTube. So we'll no longer be on Blog Talk. The only show that will be on Blog Talk is Chief Speaks, and that's mainly for the high frequency listeners. And it's possible that that may change in the future as well. So make sure when you go to Enlightenment and Transformation TV on YouTube that you do click the subscribe button so that you can keep up with all of the weekly shows. Okay. Osiris Life is where OsirisLife.com, of course, is where you can go if you need more personal training or coaching. This is where you can sign up for monthly services. So if you need more attention or more readings, or if you're not too comfortable with the rituals and you need something done on your behalf, you can go to OsirisLife.com. AlphaOmegaStore.com is where you can go to get all of your spiritual supplies. We have ritual packages there. You can buy all of the books, the DVDs, all of the resources that we have there. They can be purchased there. A lot of times you'll hear Chief give out rituals on a lot of the shows, and sometimes those things are very hard to find. So definitely check AlphaOmegaStore.com for all of your ritual supplies, especially if you got a ritual from Chief. Those things will be listed on that website. Okay, so we're gonna take a quick break. So those of you that missed the very beginning and you didn't hear the clip for the strong, I'm going to play it again for you, and then we can go ahead and jump into it.
Okay, she woke up recently, but their transformation is not happening because they are not able to feel and experience the things that they learn. Transformation does not come as a product of feeling. Now, let's deal with that for a moment, the experience and the feeling. Part of the reason that that's also happening with this individual has to do with a sincere gut check. And that gut check gets them to a place where they can really ask themselves if they truly have faith in and stand on the convictions of what they're learning. I guarantee you they're not, first off. I guarantee you this individual is not making the internal changes that are necessary that go along with the academics that they're learning. Okay, so this information is not having an influence on this individual's what you call their personal life, because this individual has not opened themselves up to be influenced. They're only allowing themselves to be persuaded. And if they're allowing themselves to be persuaded, it is because they are standing in a position right now where they're saying, okay, convince me. Okay? So when you do that, you don't really get it. It's just like when I sometimes do readings for people, or people come to a lecture and I see them sitting there with their arms folded. Sometimes you see them sitting there with their legs crossed and their hands in between their legs covering their genitals. And it's the body language says it all. I'm not going to let you in. And you're going to have to work to convince me. And the thing is, where it becomes a challenge with me is that I could care less. You don't have to be convinced, because if I'm up here teaching or I'm giving you a reading, it's for you. It's not for me. I can give myself a reading behind closed doors. I can teach myself by just meditating, cracking open a book, or calling one of my elders, So this individual has to open themselves up more to where the information will take them, and they can't try to control it. They have too much of a tight grip on experiences, okay? And they can't be looking for a feeling. This is not about feeling. Okay, that's a very churchical way of approaching this consciousness. Our church ways and our religious ways, and sometimes even the experience of Black Americans, we look for a feeling and an experience. I want to come into information. I want to see everything bright and brand new. And a lot of times we get those thoughts because we hear those testimonies from other people. Oh, I went and got initiated, and then I started seeing all these spirits. And I can tell you, a lot of times people are lying. Because a lot of times people who are saying and seeing all these different things are not seeing them. It's just that they feel inept now because they feel like they've now initiated into a line of people who have seen things. So if I didn't see it, then what's wrong with me? So now I have to make up my own story, or I have to exaggerate my experiences. And a lot of times, for those of us who really get it and get it good, it's a slow process. Easy come, easy go, and those that run fast, they trip. So, sometimes you see people that are quick learners, or they seem to be quick learners, and they're just picking up, they're having all these amazing experiences, and then next year they're doing something different. They're out of it, they're gone. So, and there's some people that take over a really long time. And there's a lot of frustration, and they just don't get it right away. You see a lot of blank looks and a lot of balled up pieces of paper, and it comes very slow for them. But what happens is, because it comes slow like that, it really influences their life. And they become walking examples of what it is that we're speaking about.
Okay, so that was the clip. Again, in case you missed it at the beginning of the show. Again, it comes from a Foundational Friday show entitled Zombies, Debates, and Transformation. Okay. Again, before I get started, I want to remind you to RSVP for the webinar. You can go to saduluhouse.com/events. Okay. So let's talk about this clip. There are a lot of points there, but the main thing I want to talk about when I heard this clip was where he said that transformation is not a product of feeling. And this is something that so many of us fall for in the beginning. When we start to come into this information, we think that we're supposed to feel something, and it's gotten to be so that feeling has replaced knowing. We don't think we just don't think we're growing unless we feel something. And feelings, like I've said before, this is where you get into what you learn when you start to meditate. Feeling is such a transient thing. It doesn't last. So to think that your growth and transformation is based on feeling is so, this is not a reliable thing to do. It's like when we come into this thing, we want to see spirits and ghosts, and we want to see stuff flying around, we want to see lights, we want to see aliens, and we want to feel high or something all the time. We think that, all of our, life struggles and, worldly things, all this stuff is just going to melt away some kind of, in some kind of miraculous sort of way. We look to this coming into consciousness. We look to it as an escape, an escape from the world. And that's just not going to happen. And, like you said in the clip, that comes from our church experience. It's so funny. When you used to go to church, you just didn't think you were there, until you caught the Holy Ghost or started speaking in tongues or something. And if you didn't, you just always wondered, well, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do that? And we all know somebody in church that was always faking it. You couldn't wait to get to church to see that one person, because it was like they would hit it on cue every week. But it's like, when you see things like that happen all the time, it's like, why is this not happening to me? What's not special about me? Why can't I speak in tongues or turn flips? Why am I not happy enough to be able to do that? And you think something's wrong with you. Well, like you said, for the most part, a lot of people are faking it. And, even after coming out of the church, and like I said before, I I wasn't a church member. I didn't grow up in the church. I just went, occasionally with friends. But even after coming from that and saying that, and you come into the so-called conscious community, it's like you think that you won't see that anymore. And I think that you probably see it even more in the conscious community. I've heard blog talk show hosts and YouTube lecturers brag all the time about, levitating, and they're communicating with aliens and, all this kind of stuff, and reptilians and all this stuff. And some people can't even seem to materialize money for rent. It's like, what does all that matter if you can't master root chakra stuff? A lot of us just have basic root chakra problems, and that's what we're trying to escape from. And it's like, you can't ascend to the crown chakra and just skip all of the other stuff, all the other chakras before you get there. It's like, you can't, how can a person levitate, but you can't, get along with your daughter or your child or your mother, it's like this doesn't even make sense. It just becomes ridiculous at some point. And it's like, this person is lying, because you can look at them. And some of us, like, if we're not in the area where all the debates and all this kind of stuff goes down, and you just have a relationship with some of these leaders through, I don't even call them leaders, with some of these people, these personalities through YouTube, you don't get to see them. And so it's like, you don't know that these people are living in a project apartment and they're broke, they're flat broke, that they don't have that, their family is in shambles, and, they can barely afford to, get a decent meal. You don't know any of these things, because nowadays anybody can just get on YouTube and posture themselves as an expert, and this is how a lot of spiritual teachers and leaders get over on you. And it's because they know you're not really looking for change. You just kind of want to buy into this dream, because everybody just wants to alleviate the pain, of, like I said, of all these root chakra problems. And we also want to feel special and exclusive. We always want to be a part of something, or be a part of a secret club, or, things like this. So these people will sell you some kind of charm or special text that has never been seen, since the days of Atlantis or something. And now you can have it. It's just crazy. And like Chief has asked, before, to so many callers on Chief Speaks, what are you going to do with this information once I give it to you? And just because something is old, it doesn't make it effective. It's probably now available to you because it doesn't work anymore. Back in, early church days and things like that, you had certain societies and things that would control information so that the general population would not be empowered. And so don't think that just because we're in the information age now that still doesn't go on. If these super, super secret ancient things are now available to the public, you have to understand that it's possibly because they're not very effective anymore. No one's using it. Again, just because something old, it doesn't make it powerful. And all this exclusivity, and I have this, and I got this secret thing, and this secret book, and I got this special tool. All that exclusivity does is just kind of beefs up your ego, and it creates more division between people. And in the meantime, you still can't pay your rent. You still don't have any friends or family, and your character is horrible. But you have this book that no one else has, so it makes you feel special. Which, of course, if you study a little bit harder, you dig a little bit, I bet you'll find that book somewhere else. It doesn't just automatically just become open to one person, and somehow it got to you. It just doesn't happen that way. And for the most part, it's probably just been retitled by whoever's selling it. They found it, they spent some time doing the homework and you didn't, and slapped a different title on it, and now you think you got something. So, but and to really, if you really think about it, what you're doing is you're still trying to recapture someone else's experience. You're still trying to imitate what they went through. So now you have this book that was used back in the times of Atlantis, and you're trying to live in 2015 the way they lived back in the days of Atlantis, which is just kind of crazy. So again, you've reverted back to your church mind. You're living life through someone else's culture. And then, like Chief said, we hear other people's testimonies and wonder, why am I not getting it? Why am I not getting it? And, you say to yourself, this person isn't more magical or whatever than I am. What's wrong with me? And this happens a lot too, and it can cause you to get frustrated. Maybe you'll stop studying because you just think, this is just hocus pocus or whatever. This is not working for me, so something's wrong with me, so I may as well just stay where I am. And you got to understand that a lot of these people are either embellishing the story or just flat out lying. And you can definitely tell, believe it or not, you can tell if someone is genuine or not. And I'll tell you how you can tell. Because for those people who are truly changing, and if they are at a point where they can levitate and all this other kind of stuff, the people that can do that, their character is going to reflect that. There's no way that you can have all these amazing, miraculous, experiences and great things happen to you, and you're still the same mean, jealous, and spiteful person. It just doesn't happen. That's something that you have to recognize. This person's behavior and the way they interact with people would completely change. Okay, and then I want to come to another point in the clip where he spoke about, you have the people that are prove it to me people, So let's talk about the prove it to me types. Give me just a second here. Having a look. Give me just a second. Okay.